Coming up on the Code Bet Daily NRL Round 9 preview, I yell about the terrible scheduling of games as the Roosters and Warriors play each other yet again. Phil's here, he's depressed as me because Brighton, like Arsenal, got smashed this morning.
Did we have to mention that again, Al? Did we? Look, it's been a dreadful week for Brighton and Hove Albion fans. Kicked out in the FA Cup in cruel circumstances as well, and somehow losing to that team this morning, dear oh dear. But yeah, look, we will move along and get to some footy tips. Looking forward to round 9. There are some good games and some very average games, but yeah, support comes in once again for the Warriors, who just betting agencies refuse to respect them, and I'm just about fed up with it. But I will take advantage, of course, and keep winning money with the Warriors. Loving the look of this Thursday night game and the Friday night absolute bell ringer up at Suncorp Stadium. It is a shame that there are a couple of major suspensions for the Broncos, so that makes that one particularly interesting to dive into.
Penrith Panthers to absolutely humble the West Tigers in Bathurst also. But it's Code Bet Daily NRL Round 9 preview coming your way right now. Welcome to the Code Bet Daily NRL Round number 9 preview. This blew my mind when checking upon the run sheet this morning, saying, round 9 already. Where is the season going? I'm joined as always by Phil Pryor. He is up in Sydney. Phil, we're going to get to it from the top. How are you feeling after your massive defeat this morning?
Well, I was actually going to come in and say there's no need for either of us to even mention Premier League or football in general. I've had a terrible week. Actually, my family home of 26 years, the keys were handed over today as well. So It's just been a miserable day from start to finish. And I mean, look, you've gone there. So all I'll say is this, that was the most disappointing day of the season for Brighton fans this morning.
Brighton, of course, going down, I think it was 3-1, or did it end up 4-1 to Nottingham Forest? Of course, my beloved Arsenal got their asses whipped at the Etihad this morning. Ever since I woke up on Sunday morning, it's been a bad time for my teams in red and white, and waking up at 5 a.m. again this morning was a terrible idea, as it was on Saturday morning. But hey, let's crack into some NRL action because we do have some ripping games, and I'm sick of being Code Depressed Daily. Tonight, 7:50 p.m, the Cronulla Sharks are $1.28. The line is 10.5 or 11.5, wherever you look. North Queensland Cowboys are $4. Cronulla has failed to cover the line in each of its last 8 games at home as favourite, which is quite interesting. But geez, the Sharks look too good here.
Yeah, I know. That stat is certainly a surprising one. And you know, as we say, good teams win, great teams cover. I think this is probably an opportune moment for the Sharks to just kind of somewhat announce themselves in a Thursday night, standalone fixture where they've got all the free-to-air viewers on eyes on them as well. So it is a big spot for them, in the spotlight. And I think they proved that they are a great team tonight. I think they're genuine title contenders. I don't think they're, trying to step into that range. I flat out think they are. So I think they can kind of bring an end to that nasty covering streak tonight as the favourite at home in this one. The Cowboys haven't shown anything more than they're just an average football team. They could barely beat Newcastle last week. We'll get to Newcastle. They're an improved team. They've surprised me, but in saying that, I think there's a massive step up in class for the Cowboys to now go to Cronulla, interstate as well, on a 5-day turnaround. So I'm taking the Sharks at the line. I think, minus a 10.5 is fine. $1.91 on Bet365 is decent value there. And so, look, Will Kennedy's been in terrific try-scoring form as well. He's $10 on Ladbrokes as first try scorer. He's scored 2 hat-tricks this season, coming off 3 in 20 minutes last week. So, I think Will Kennedy's a decent sniff. He possesses that kind of dual threat ability as a runner and a passer close to the line, and that has opened up a few holes for him that he can just slide straight through. So he's got good anticipation as a support runner as well. And, you have to respect the likes of Valentine Holmes defensively out wide. So I think maybe there will be a hole up the middle that the Sharks can exploit for that first score. And if so, Will Kennedy will be there in support.
You took the jam out of my donut there. I was going to say the $10 is quite a good price. Even the $6.50 for him to score a double drew my attention when having a look at this game. But yeah, I think the Sharks win this one and didn't mind the line either. We move across to Friday night, and this really does feel like a Friday night early game as it's 12th versus 13th, I believe. The Parramatta Eels are $1.43. The line is 6.5 or 7.5 wherever you look. Newcastle Knights at $2.90 with Bet365. The last 8 between these two have gone under. The over-under is 41.5. I'm going to be very glad to not watch this game, I feel.
Yeah, particularly if it does hit the unders, which statistically says it probably will. Look, it is a really important game for the Eels, though. I mean, it's important for both of these sides just to stay in touch with the 8. Parramatta, they're looking to make it 6 in a row against the Knights. So that they've got the recent wood over this outfit. All similar players involved in those games as well. 39 points to 2 last start between these two sides. So I think that is something that we have to weigh up when kind of trying to figure out what's going to happen here. Kalen Ponga came into that Knights team last week, and what do you know? They ended up back on the losing list, which is just a funny one. It's just the Knights were getting the results without him in the team. I think that's more correlation than causation, to be clear. But I do like the Eels in this. I think it's a really good opportunity for them to kind of just get their season going. After a tough outing against the Broncos up in Darwin last week. Will Penasini, he's been in really good try scoring form as well. He's actually been the first try scorer in 3 of his last 5 matches at CommBank Stadium. So he has taken his game to another level this season. There was when Joseph Suaalii re-signed with the Roosters that extra year in the preseason. We all know famously what's happened since then. But he's good mates with Penasini, and there was just a minor connection to the Eels, and it's not surprising to see that Penasini is starting to elevate his game to prodigious talents coming through the ranks. And Penasini, he's been an absolute handful on that right edge most weeks this season. So he has to be a really good chance of crossing for the first try again tonight. And just first try scorer, Will Penasini, just looking on Better, he's $12 on Better. So, you're getting that sort of double-digit look as well.
I didn't mind the look of the winning margin by either team being 6 or less at $2.75 with Ladbrokes, just given that I don't rate either of these teams at the moment, but this ladder is so congested at the moment. I think it's 3rd down to 9th are all on 10 points at the moment. So a win here really does catapult you back into a finals chance. But Parramatta at home for me, but not a lot of confidence. We move across to what looks to be possibly the game of the weekend, and the odds, they flummoxed me a little bit on this one. The Brisbane Broncos at home, $2.50, line of plus 4.5 at South Sydney, $1.62, -3.5 for them. Over-under is either 42 or 43.5. The Broncos have won 7 of 8. They've got a ridiculous for and against. They're on top of the table, yet they're the outsiders. Why?
Yeah, it was certainly something that jumped out to me, and I just kind of settled on my tips before jumping on here. Brisbane have 55% of the support as far as just straight up head-to-head tipping is concerned on ESPN footy tips, which is surprising. And I think it's just muscle memory. You see the Broncos at home, Suncorp Stadium, you jump on. The odds makers are obviously factoring in that both half Ezra Mam and Payne Haas are suspended. So that is massive. That massively works against the Broncos team. The Rabbitohs, they've been in good form. Obviously, there's no denying that as well. So that's kind of where these odds have landed. Straight up, I think just as far as tipping is concerned, I think to get the Rabbitohs, who are a pretty warm favourite. Oh my! It sounds like there was a big shot in the background.
Yeah, so currently right now the NBA Finals are going on and Milwaukee and Miami are duking it out. So if we hear some crazy noises through recording, Corporate Jim, who's meant to be Corporate Jim, our boss, is yelling as we're recording. So
my goodness.
Apologies for the interruption there as we'll keep rolling. So we're talking about one of the games of the season. As the finals are going on, we may need to throw social guy Leo over there with some grenades to shut the boys up.
Well, as a Green Bay Packers fan, I follow a few Milwaukee sports people on Twitter, and someone who I've got notifications on for, who's a Bucks fan, has just tweeted, "You've got to be kidding me." So something has happened with the Bucks down 3-1 as the favourite to win the NBA championship going into the playoffs. Might have just been eliminated. I'm not entirely sure, but wow. wow.
Well, everyone else will know, but we don't, apparently.
Yeah. So Flegler and Keenan Palasia, the starting front rowers for the Broncos. They do have Pat Carrigan, but Jock Madden at 5'8", along with Adam Reynolds, is a massive downgrade from Ezra Mam, who's young, who has a lot a lot of room to grow into, but at the same time, he's a good player offensively and defensively. So. Look, straight up, I'm tipping the Rabbitohs, but like the line doesn't make this easy as well. But this could easily be a 1-point game when it's all said and done. So I'm actually kind of tilting towards Brisbane with the 1.5 point start.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to watching this game as it's up against the St Kilda Port Adelaide game. So I may be flicking back and forth throughout the evening. More importantly, the game of the weekend for me. Just for pure home reasons, Canberra Raiders take on the Dolphins at McDonald's Park at Wagga Wagga. The time-honoured McDonald's Park, owned and named by Tony Aitchinger, who owns all the Wagga McDonald's. Usually this game is next week. They've got in a week early because the Wagga Cup is next week. Of course, the Raiders are favourites, $1.55. The Dolphins are $2.50. Jack Whiten obviously doesn't want to go to Wagga.
Yeah, it seems as though there's going to be a bit of narrative driven through tipping and punting this weekend off the back of news that Whiten signed with the Rabbitohs. He'll obviously be playing for the Raiders in this one, and pretty steady as far as the team lists are concerned, because the Dolphins have had some a bit of a tough time of it recently as far as personnel, but their forward pack is pretty much back to full strength now, and it has been the last couple of weeks. So, the fact that they've got Felice Kafusi back on an edge, they've got both Bromwich boys up front, Jeremy Marshall-King's playing in this one as well. I think the Dolphins are a tough out here. They look like maybe the wheels had fallen off in the first half against the Titans, and then history happened in that second half. And look, the Raiders just haven't shown much at all this season. They are coming off the bye, which I think helps where they're at. They just haven't been able to find a lot of consistency, and they've been really hard to trust. That said, off the top of my head, they had a good win before the bye, because they were one of the teams that I sort of mentioned back in round 7 that I just couldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. They got the job done against the Dragons, 20 points to 14, and that it was more than 6 points up until the dying stages. And what do you know? The Dragons, of course, they backdoored a cover there, but
just to screw with us.
Oh man, exactly. Yeah, So having won each of their last 4 matches off the bye is probably something that we can read into, and maybe there's just a bit of emotion. But with at the line, the Dolphins have been gifted 5.5 points. And to be fair, I think this is more of a coin flip than what the odds makers have it set at. So I'm leaning towards the Dolphins with that 5.5 point start. Bet365, $1.95 as well. So there's pretty juicy value there.
And God bless the Dolphins for that phenomenal comeback last week. That was also equally as hilarious against the Titans, but God bless them for a multi-leg that I needed and thought I was done and dusted. We move to the team that they turned around 28 points on late last week. Not Manly, but Manly, the favourites are $1.45. The line is 6.5. The Gold Coast Titans, more like the Gold Coast let-ins, $2.80. Over-under is 45.5. This looks too open and shut to me. If you let in 28 points like that, you get beaten the next week. You can't find an answer for that. You come out and get smashed. And you got to go to Manly. Who wants to go from the Gold Coast to Manly? Let's be honest.
Yeah, and the Seagulls, they love a brookie arvo. That 5:30 time slot is
it's
right
just
up their
a
alley.
gross time slot.
It's right up their alley. They'll get a really good crowd at Four Pines Park, despite the fact that they're playing an interstate rival. You're looking at probably 13, 14 maroon and white thousand fans in the crowd. That should give them a boost. Obviously the fitness uncertainty surrounding Tom Trbojevic right now is less than ideal. But at the same time, they get Christian Tuipulotu back on the right wing, which just sort of gives them that extra playmaker. He's good for yardage carries out of their own half as well. So, you look at that back line, Jason Saab, he's getting his fitness back. Ruben Garrick, he's shifted into the centres. They're back to full strength pretty much as far as their forward pack is concerned. Paseka up front, he's going to probably, when it's all said and done at the end of this year, he's going to be one of those front rowers that's elevated his game to a new level, and he becomes one of the spearheads in this attack. They've got Kelma Tuolangi back from a concussion sit-out last week, so him and Ola Kawatu as your two edge forwards as well. Jake Trbojevic is still there, and Ethan Bullimore, he's one of the best interchange players in the NRL right now, as far as I'm concerned. The leg speed and the late footwork has just been really effective when he comes on for that stint through the middle part of the game. So, there's not a lot that can convince me that the Titans can stay within the 7.5 point start that they've been afforded by Bet365. Top Sporter, Manly minus 6.5 at $1.90. I thought that it was a Manly 13+ job last week. That wasn't to be. The Tigers held their own against the Seagulls, and that game went, far later than I would have predicted. But I think Manly can get this one done by at least 2 possessions. So give me the 7+ all day, minus the 6.5, $1.90 with Top Sport. Jump on the Seagulls, I think.
We then head across to Bathurst, where the Penrith Panthers are $1.11. The West Tigers, who are winless this year, winless in their last 12, are $7.50. That could be missing a zero. The line is 16.5 for the Panthers and plus 17.5 for the West Tigers. This just looks really bad. This just looks so bad for the Tigers. You just can't see them winning a game. And now the poor buggers have got to go across to Bathurst, where it's every chance of being minus 3 degrees by 7:30 on Saturday night.
It was interesting. Yesterday, the lines were even further out. So I'm trying to decipher what news or event has caused some kind of a shift there. But look, the Panthers losing Isaac Tungo at left centre for a period of time now. It doesn't help. They get Tyrone Peachy to fill that role. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing, but he's been training more as a middle forward for the last couple of seasons. So that doesn't exactly help. But at the same time, I mean, this could be an absolute demolition job, couldn't it? And the Panthers, they've looked outside of the last 5 minutes last week, mainly untouchable. And you don't want to get really good teams off a loss either. I pay a lot of respect to that, and I think the Panthers will be fired up. The fact that they let that game slip last Thursday night. So I can't see the Tigers keeping this thing within 20 points, and I think it could be ugly early as well. I just don't see any. I don't see any other possibilities or outcomes here, to be honest. So I'm jumping on the Panthers minus the 16.5, and Bet365 are offering $1.95 for that.
Yeah, I didn't mind that either. But also, you mentioned Tyrone Peachy. He scored actually in his last 4 games when he's been a starter against the West Tigers. So maybe even a sneaky anytime there because, well, someone's got to cross at some stage. It feels like they'll be lining up for them. But yeah, West Tigers, maybe we need to rename you the Bathurst Bears or something. Who knows?
And Brian Toto as well. He scored at least 1 try in 6 of Penrith's last 7 home matches.
There you go. There's one as well. So maybe a little same gamer there for Penrith to cover. Throw in Tyrone Peachy and Brian to score tries. You could get a little bit of probably about $6-7 with that. Well, I'll add that up in a sec. But we move ahead to Sunday in New Zealand. This is a belter. Also, I need to get my anger and complaint out straight away that the NRL scheduling makes no sense. A team that played each other a month ago should not play each other up until like round 20 or something. As the New Zealand Warriors at $2.90 host the Sydney Roosters at $1.45. The line is 7.5. The over-under is 42.5 to 43.5. But seriously, these teams played a month ago. Why are they playing again now? Make sense of it for me and people who would listen in Melbourne going, yeah, that makes no sense given in the AFL, you play each other in round 2. You might not see them for the rest of the year.
Well, there have been worse ones this season. Put it that way. They were round 2, so we are going back 7 weeks at least.
At least it wasn't like Leeds and Man United who were like 5 days apart because of the Queen's death earlier this season. So that was a bit how you're going. You played at Old Trafford Monday, and then I think it was like Friday night they were playing at Elland Road.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. Well, we played Liverpool like 2 or 3 times in a short space of time as well, and those were the days when we were winning back then. The good old Brighton Seagulls. But look, I watched most of both Anzac Day games on Tuesday.
Our boys, the Warriors, covered. God bless them.
Well, yeah, and I was saying this to Dad, like, because he and me watched the early game, and he's like, "Oh, that was a good game, Roosters Dragons." And I said, "Well, to be honest, that second game was so much better than the first game. The first game was 2 sides that looked just completely incapable of beating good teams. The Roosters did not do themselves any favours. They won the game against poor opposition. All they did, that was their performance was so disappointing that I've officially started to lose confidence in their ability to win the premiership this season because we just need to see some growth, and I haven't seen any level of growth from that Roosters team. Now there's this instability with Sam Walker not being picked, and there just appear to be a few cracks there as well in and around that set of circumstances. Then you move to the late game, and that Warriors Storm game, it was physical. It was an incredibly fast game of football as well, and it was between 2 teams that were just throwing absolutely everything at each other. And the pace was just chalk and cheese between that game and the earlier game where it was 2 sides trying not to trip over their own ankles. And so, I coming out of Tuesday has just solidified the point that I think the Warriors should just about be favourites in this game.
Ooh, I'm big call.
I'm tipping them outright to win. I think the $2.90 on Betr is great value until the Roosters start to show me that they're not just, a team of champions, not a champion team. I don't think they should be trusted. And at the line, like give me the Warriors with 7.5 at home all day. They were able to keep this Roosters team in close proximity back in round 2, and there's absolutely no reason why they won't be doing that again here.
Yeah, for me, the Roosters have won their last 6 against the Warriors, and it's always a thing for me with the Roosters is they look terrible sometimes, but they still find ways to win, and that is a mark of a good team, and they looked terrible. But as we said, any day but Anzac Day, they probably win that game by 20 points. But Anzac Day, different thing. Who knows? Just one of those days. And they could just throw it all together all of a sudden. Like, oh, yeah, that's right. They're really good. But I do agree with you that the line is an absolutely cracking bet here. Give me that plus 7.5 all day.
Five days later, they're not going to be...
They're not going to snap into gear in 5 days, but it's just one of those ones I'm like, they're still very good. But yeah, I need to take that line, just especially the way both teams went last week. And I thought we were run for the win there early on with the Warriors, but we moved to the final game of the weekend, and it's a bit of a downer to finish on for me.
Look, if you want to ignore this game, I think we can.
Yeah, we usually can, but I think we're somewhat contractually obligated to talk about it. As St George Illawarra are $1.68, Canterbury's $2.28. The line is 3.5. The over/under is 14.5. But hey, St George have won their last 6 at Wynn Stadium, so they win. We go home. We feel sad because we've been bagging out St George for the last 10 weeks.
Oh dear, oh dear. Look,
what a way to finish.
Thank God for punting, because that's your only chance of having any level of interest in this game.
I was going to say, thank God Adelaide and Collingwood starts 5 minutes after this kicks off.
That is also very handy, I must admit. Now Tau Bogue is out, and he's been in red hot try scoring form for the Dragons, 5 in the last 2 weeks, I believe. So that must be noted in this game. The problem is that that Bulldogs team, they're still missing a handful of players. They've dropped Kyle Flanagan, which moves Matt Burton to halfback. They've got Josh Reynolds into the starting team, but they're still missing key personnel in that forward pack. They've been trying, but they've just been, they're basically without the likes of Addo-Carr, Kiraz out wide, and the likes of Viliami Kikau up front. They're just missing too many important players.
Yeah.
The Dragons will grind out a win here. I think the Bulldogs could do enough to potentially just keep this one close, because they have been fighting hard, and they would have circled this one on the draw in the last few weeks and gone, we don't look all that close to a win, but this could be it against a very dour Dragons lineup. But this is what the Dragons are built to win these types of games. They'll win 7 or 8 games this season. Is that enough to spare Anthony Griffin and co? Who knows?
No.
But that's what they're built to do. They don't have a ceiling, but they're Dad's army with a floor, and they're built to win these kinds of games. So I'm tipping the Dragons. I've got absolutely no confidence in either of these teams, though, and I don't know what to do with the 3.5 start, to be honest.
Yeah, I just thought this is one where I have something on St George, because Canterbury's injury list is just too bad, and St George at home have a good record, and they've also won 3 of the last 4 between the two. I know it's something. I need something to cling on to this game, because, yeah, I thought the Canterbury Bulldogs would get smashed last week. It was only 13 points, so who knows? This game could be the answer of a pineapple, and it's just one of those ones you watch and maybe learn that both teams aren't great.
There's no learnings. We know that. We know that for a fact.
That's it. But that's all games done and dusted that we've gone through this week. What are your best bets for the weekend, Phil?
Best bets? Well, I'm definitely steering clear of that game. I think the Warriors with the 7.5 points start against the Roosters, $1.95 with Top Sport. The Milwaukee Bucks to be eliminated in 5 games. Because that has officially happened, which is just insane. They were my tip to win the whole bloody NBA title before the playoffs kicked off. So that is ridiculous. And I think I like Manly minus the 6.5 at home to do a job on the Titans.
Yep.
What are the Gold Coast Titans, honestly?
Same as the Gold Coast Suns. No idea.
Yeah, exactly. And Brian To'o to score a try against the Tigers into the Panthers minus 16.5 on Bet365.
Yeah, don't mind that one at all. Of course, my computer has decided to freeze on itself as I was trying to put together that same game multi that we were talking about, because you know what? How good are we with technology? But while we're doing that, all the noise that we were hearing was the Bucks getting kicked out of the NBA playoffs. Who would have seen that coming?
Yeah, it's just insane.
That's for sure.
I do have to, that there's that Twitter account, Bad Takes Exposed. I do have to make mention of our insanely poor take last week that the Swans would get the job done down in Geelong.
Yeah, look, as I said, Saturday was a really bad day for me. I played golf for the first time in 6 months and had a shocker as well. And then, of course, as always, I parred the last, which makes you want to go back again next week. But that multi has reloaded. Toa to score, Tyrone Peachy to score, Penrith minus 17.5, $5.60 without friends at Ladbrokes. Leo, throw that one together for social media, please. He's sitting over there, so I can tell him to do stuff. But that's NRL Round 9 done and dusted this weekend. Thank you, Phil. You will be here next week live in studio. I won't be, because I'll be at Wagga sinking tins at this stage. Hopefully Cliff House has won the time-honoured benchmark 66-1600 at this stage. But Phil, looking forward to having you down here in Melbourne next week. You, Stats Guy and Corporate Jim, will be taking over the NRL show next week. And no technology, no lawnmowers, no Jim and Stats Guy yelling at the TVs.
I'm very much looking forward to it. It's a great shame that you won't be there with us, but we'll do our best to enjoy what will it be, round 10 and Magic Round, of course. So we'll be doing a bit of a live thing on the Friday night, I believe. So it's going to be a whole heap of fun. I'm going to have to try and watch a ton of footy this weekend so I know what I'm talking about when I'm down there with you lot next week.
Yeah, because I'm about to say the takes from Stats Guy and Jim are going to be fantastic, so you're going to have to lead the way there. But as always, may all your tips come in. Happy punting. Gamble responsibly, because it's CodeBet Daily, and we're out.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.